Yeah.
What?
Oh no. LiftTheTrucks.com has the juice.
What's up, my people? Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. A lot of guys now, after my loss, will probably call me Double C. But you know what? I'll take it. As much as I can give it, I can take it too. Anyhow, I'm here in beautiful Sao Paulo, Brazil. Campinas. Actually, I take that back. We are here in Piracicaba, home of the Bulldog, Bruno Bulldogino. You got it spelled here, and obviously you got the merch here. But this episode is brought to you by the one and only Lifted Trucks. Lifted Trucks have been making custom trucks since 1995, guys. Guys, I put my money where my mouth is. I have Lifted Trucks. I may be a short king, but on the street, I am the king of the damn jungle. So you guys make sure when you guys want your custom truck, you guys want Lifted Trucks, you guys go to liftedtrucks.com and get your lift on. So Francis Ngannou signs with the PFL. I think one question I have is, man, where the hell is PFL getting all this money? I mean, signing Jake Paul, signing him, $1 million tournaments. I know Kayla Harrison's making crazy money as a female, the most other than Ronda Rousey, and maybe even more so than Ronda Rousey, the most paid women's athlete of all time. Anyhow, that's none of my business. What my business is Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou opening up the free agency for the rest of the world. I mean, is this the start of the collaboration of Bellator versus UFC, PFL versus the UFC, one championship versus Bellator? I mean, are we opening up new doors that have never truly been opened? Is Bellator, PFL, one championship, even if the UFC doesn't get involved, are they willing to kind of cross that road? You see, there's a lot of questions to be answered or to be asked, but Francis Ngannou, and as you guys heard, you know, how Daniel Cormier commended him for what he's done in free agency. I mean, literally, this guy's about to make a whole lot of money boxing. More like he's probably going to fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, which is, he can make anywhere between 20 to 30 million. Jumping over the PFL and then eventually fighting. And everybody is guaranteed at the heavyweight division that fights Francis Ngannou that they will be making $2 million. I mean, talk about a company really setting the bar. But you also want to think is, are they eating more than what they could actually chew? Or are they going to shoot themselves in the foot because they're giving out a little too much? You know, there's a reason why the UFC has also succeeded. So let's not be fooled. Unless they're backed up by somebody like Bill Gates with the limited money, but it's different. But eventually someone is going to want that money in return. That being said, will the Jon Jones fight versus Francis Ngannou fight, will that fight ever happen? You know, because they are making it intriguing. You know, Jon Jones just tweeted out something along the lines. Again, don't quote me. You know, I don't know how is it that you could say you're the best, the baddest man on the planet when you're yelling from across the street. And then Jones replied by saying, well, Francis Ngannou replied by saying, hey, well, why don't you cross the street? In other words, he's the one he's portraying that Jones is saying that. Will this fight ever take place? You know, getting a chance to know Jon, I don't think Jon really cares. I don't think Jon needs a guy like Francis Ngannou to be able to say that he is, you know, the greatest of all time. And in reality, Jon doesn't need any of those guys. You know, but the guy that he probably does want to be, and he does want to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, his name is Stipe Miocic. You see, at the end of the day, people will look at the credentials, people will look at the numbers, and people will see that at the end of the day, his name is Stipe Miocic, who is the baddest heavyweight in the UFC roster in history, because numbers don't lie. And a matter of fact, he has a win over Francis Ngannou. You know, a domination that he had for 5 rounds. I remember that fight. So a lot of questions to be asked. Will a lot of doors be open? Is this the start of something cool? You know, we go back when we think of or we think of what Jake Paul said a few days ago. He says, "Hey, me versus Nate Diaz, Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones," and I believe there's another one that made sense. But anyways, what they're trying to say is that, hey, PFL versus UFC. PFL versus the UFC. And I tell you what, guys, if you guys just think that the UFC is the only place, the only powerhouse where the best fighters in the world are just made, guys, there's a lot of tough fighters out there. This could be a new avenue that could take MMA and take it to a whole new level. But will the UFC abide? Are they willing to say, hey, you know what? The fans want to see it. The world wants to see it. Why don't we do a collaboration? Let's let the best man win. We'll see. They're both promoted by the ESPN, which helps a lot of this negotiation, which helps. Maybe they do a one-time deal. Winner takes all. But we'll see. What you got for me, Michael?
Yeah, so which side are you on? Do you think it's fair what Jon Jones is saying, that the comparison Jon Jones made was if Tom Brady, let's say he went to the Arena Football League and you're kind of saying to Tom Brady, talking shit to him and asking Tom Brady to go to the AFL. Do you think it's fair that the criticism Jon Jones has of Ngannou, or do you think it's unfair because Ngannou, was right to get his payday?
No, I think they're both right. I think Jones is right saying, hey, if you're going to be the best man on the planet, then come and get some. I own the heavyweight championship. I am the current UFC undisputed champion of the world. What about you? But you also can't be mad at Francis Ngannou for actually chasing the bag. But I tell you what, guys, the bag is more important than actual legacy. You've already been a world champion. You already know what it's like to be a world champion. You start to understand that it could be a little overrated if the compensation piece isn't there. So Francis Ngannou, I believe me and Francis Ngannou were getting paid when I was champion too. I think I was getting paid more than Francis Ngannou at the time when I was champion. This is a heavyweight that we're talking about. But he's about to not even double dip. He's about to triple dip. He's got the crazy boxing exhibition, whether it's with Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. He's got the fights with PFL. And then he maybe has a crossover with Jon Jones in the UFC. So who wins here? You know who wins here? His name is Francis Ngannou.
So are you happy for him just as a fighter, seeing a fighter make that much money and doing it somewhere else? And like you said to me off camera before starting this, like this is the start of true free agency in MMA again.
Yeah, I think as a fighter, as an entrepreneur, I applaud him. I applaud him. Will he beat a guy like Jones? No. I think Jones has too much tools. Is he dangerous? Could he knock out Jon Jones? 100%. But Jones just has too many tools in the bag. But we're talking about, the more I think about it, we're talking about something that may never take place. But I tell you what, guys, they're doing a good job at least keeping their name out in the limelight, because that's one of the most important things that a fighter could do. Whether the fight ever happens or not, if I had to give it a rating of will it happen, I say it's a 50-50 chance. But in reality, when it's 50-50, typically what 50-50 means, it means no. I don't believe they'll ever fight. I really don't. I do believe that Jon wants to exit out. He's got maybe one more fight, and then you have to pull him out of retirement once again, because he wants to leave as king, and he wants to leave up top.